Now moving into our next topic, and it is with the Crocodile Research Coalition giving us an update as to the pier, the crocodile. And we're joined here via Zoom with Miss Marissa Tellez. I hope I said that, or Tellez, I'm not sure. Good morning, Miss Marissa. How are you doing this morning?
I am doing great. How are you this morning?
We're doing great
I'm
as well.
excited. I wanted to see Pierre, but you know, dreams don't always come true.
You could go to the Zoom, Renata. But yes, so we're here discussing the crocodile breeding season and get an update from or of Pierre. So let's jump off first into the crocodiles. How important are they in our ecosystem, and why should we protect them during the breeding season as well?
So there's various research out in the world that discusses how crocodiles, they contribute to healthy ecosystems. So they're known as ecological engineers. And so what that means, for example, is their crocodile nest. Not only do crocodiles utilize their nest, but other animals may utilize their nest as well, such as turtles. So there's been some questions in various parts of the world that if you see a decrease in certain turtle species, it might be because of a decrease in crocodile species, because you have this really unique symbiotic relationship, per se, between the crocodiles and some of the other wildlife. But not only are they important ecologically, we have to understand that they're also important culturally. There's a lot of unique folklore and myths that connect crocodiles to various cultures, including the ancient Maya. One of the creation stories states that the world, it sat on the back of a crocodile. And what happened was one day there was a sky monster that wanted to devour the earth, and the crocodile sacrificed himself so that earth may live. And when the blood of the crocodile came down to earth, people arose. And so in a sense, some of the various Maya groups, they believed that they were part crocodile. And so killing a crocodile was sacrilegious. It was killing an ancestor. And there's a lot of other very unique connections to crocodiles. However, one thing that you see internationally around the world is this idea that these animals are monsters, they're villains, they're pests. This really was an idea that came around during colonization. Because if you want to utilize a resource, the best way to utilize a resource is to make others believe that it is dangerous, it is not useful, that you can get rid of it. And so this is where you really see, again, internationally around the world, where you start seeing more of this fear of these animals, and not just crocodiles, of other animals as well, lions, jaguars. And for many cultures around the world, they were distant. They were distant from being able to manage their natural wildlife. They were told that they could no longer have their cultural connection. So with that, you have this loss of culture. You have this loss of identity. And this is something that happened with crocodiles. Again, when I hear people say that they're pests, they're vermin, this to me is still the ideals of colonization. And so one thing with the CRC, one thing that we are trying to do is kind of reintroduce the cultural respect that was lost over the last couple of centuries towards crocodiles, but not just crocodiles, of all wildlife. And it's kind of regaining that culture and regaining that respect towards wildlife and trying to rebuild that bridge between humans and nature.
I love that. I think the understanding of the importance of crocodiles and just the stories of the cultural aspects, I think that sets it apart a little bit more than just, yeah, they're important to the ecosystem, but when you're able to know the stories and see, you know, how they play a role in just history, I think that is beautiful too as well. And I'm sure a lot of people did not hear that story before, and now they know, or they heard it, and they're like, oh yes, I do remember this story. I do remember the importance of crocodile. And so we know right now, presently, it's the breeding season. How long does the breeding season last exactly? And when it comes to the protection of crocodiles, what can people try to do their best to just, like, you know, if you see a crocodile for some reason on the street, what to do? Because I think there's a a fear, like you've mentioned, that, from colonization, that you think this is a beast, this is an animal that's just gonna hurt you if they see you. But what can you be able to do if you ever encounter a crocodile?
Yeah, so right now it's the breeding season, so you're going to have a lot of males. They're dispersing, they're trying to find females. Females are trying to find good habitat to lay their nests. So the best thing to do if you see a crocodile is just give it its space. Our two species of crocodiles, the Moralettes and the American, they are not considered man-eaters. Out of the 28 species of crocodilian species in the world, our species are not considered man-eaters. But unfortunately, because of what you see on TV and dramatization that you might see in the news media, people think that all crocodile species are out there to hunt people, and that's just not true. And Belize has one of the lowest rates of attacks by crocodiles. And one of the reasons is, one, we have amazing habitat. The crocodiles don't want to necessarily be near people. They want to be away from people. And so having a lot of habitat preserved, it gives the crocodiles to have their own space. And then the other reason why we have very low negative interactions with crocodiles is majority of people realize, do not feed the crocodiles, because that makes a crocodile lose their fear of humans, and that's when an attack can happen, such as the attack that happened on Ambergris Key with the tourists. I believe that was in 2019. Right. That attack happened near feeding of the crocodiles. And we see in Placentia Lagoon, where the Crocodile Research Coalition, where we're based, there's crocodiles living in canals. We've got our king of the Placentia Lagoon, Charlie. He's about a 13-foot American crocodile. And everyone just gives Charlie his space. Charlie's about 60 years old, according to the sandbite fishermen. And there's never been an issue. Why? We leave Charlie alone. And when it comes to that breeding season, people know this is the time where you really have to be smart about being away from the water between sunset and sunrise, because that's when crocodiles are going to be more active. That's when a lot of the mating is going to happen as well. So it's just being conscious and knowing to stay away from the water's edge between sunset and sunrise. And again, this is also just a good time to be understanding or being wary or being conscious. Don't throw food scraps in the canals or on the water's edge, because that's also going to attract crocodiles, and they're just going to be a little bit more defensive. And they're also, you might see them on land a lot, and they're going to be basking. Basking is just that they're just going to be getting the sun's heat to warm up so that they can move around more, and if they have to, that they can defend more as well, defending territory against another male or sometimes what we've even seen with females is females can get really aggressive with each other as they try to fight for the best nesting habitat.
I thank you for the update on that and the tip of staying away from the water's edge between sunset and sunrise, because I believe that the attack on the tourists happened at night in San Pedro. And that was a whole fiasco. I remember that fiasco good. But speaking of, you're based there in Placentia. When you got the call, and we're jumping the topic to Pierre now, because we want to know how we leave why to do. But when you got the call about Pierre, what exactly occurred there, and what was it like trying to capture Pierre for his own good, really?
So we had heard for a few days that there was a crocodile that kept coming up on the beach in Hopkins. And we have to understand is the American crocodile, and it's called the American crocodile because this species can be found throughout the Americas. It is a saltwater tolerant crocodile. And knowing that it's breeding season, which it starts because of climate change, it's changed from historical records. So we believe it's now starting about December, going through March, and possibly even into April. And we just thought, this might be a female looking to nest, because the American crocodiles historically like to nest in sandy beaches. But then Hamanasi Resort, they contacted us and they said, there's a very sick looking crocodile on the beach. Can you please come and take a look? We're really concerned. And so that's when we headed to Hopkins and we saw the crocodile. I thought it was dead. Its eyes were shut. It was not moving with people around, and that is not normal for a crocodile. These species do not want to be near humans, and they want to go away. So thankfully, I just was like, I'm just not going to touch this crocodile. I'm going to get a pole and make sure that it's possibly dead, because it looks dead, and he slightly moved. And that's when I started to see a lot of bite marks on its body. And I realized this is not a female trying to nest. This is a very ill or a very injured crocodile. And so the croc went into the ocean. And so we waited about 10 minutes for the crocodile to come back. And that's when I looked up my team member, Jonathan Treminio from Orange Rock, and he's the one in the video that snared the crocodile. And we always have a game plan. Yes, we're not frightened by these animals. We have a lot of respect. We know the danger. And so that's why when it comes to catching crocodiles, there's a lot of communication, a lot of teamwork. And so Jonathan walked up slowly to the crocodile that could not see us, and he went ahead and snared. And that's when I asked him to pull the animal further up the beach. And that's when I went ahead and I went on top of the crocodile.
You are brave for that. You are very brave for that. And you did that so calmly.
I
just
know.
Walked up and just covered his eyes and just jumped on top. And I'm like, okay then.
I saw that whole movement. I'm just like, wow. Like, it looked like it was planned in the perfect way. Like, that's why I have to say you guys really do have that in syncness with you, because the way how he pulled it up and you're just like, okay, it's my turn now. You did that.
And that's, the beauty, again, the CRC, we work really well. We know how to communicate with each other. It's not what you see on TV. The yelling, the jumping, that's all entertainment. This is science. This is about safety for my team as well as for the animal. And so communication is key. But one thing that we saw, and I know we shared pictures with you all, is the teeth marks.
Yes,
we're watching it right now.
The animal that the male that attacked Pierre was probably at least 9 to 10 feet. This was a very large animal that could have easily have been a male Morlet's crocodile or a male American crocodile, because Hopkins is in a really unique spot where it's a village surrounded by both species. So you have the American crocodile on the coast and about the mouth of the river, and then you have the Morlet's crocodile on the city river. And again, Hopkins is a historical crocodile hotspot. So this is just, an example of nature. This is an example of the territorial disputes that happen between crocodiles. And the thing is that we might start seeing more and more of this as these animals lose habitat. And, they're trying to find their territorial space. Females are trying to find good nesting habitat. And I think one thing that this kind of illustrates is that we need to, I understand development, but how about developing sustainably to further coexistence between wildlife and communities? There's no need to overdevelop all of Belize. One of the reasons that people come to Belize is because we still have nature. It's so unique. People want to experience the wildlife. They want to experience the mangroves and the jungles, because where most of these people are coming from, they don't have that anymore. So we have a really great opportunity before Belize gets overdeveloped to, again, sustainably develop so that wildlife and communities can coexist. And in a sense, Belize stands out in the world and can be a role model in the world that we can live and thrive sustainably with wildlife and increase economic opportunities.
So, Marissa, since the capture of Pierre, how has he been? Where is he located at this point?
Pierre has come to the CRC facility, and I didn't think he was going to make it, but crocodiles are amazing creatures, and he just needed a couple of days of rest, and he's starting to illustrate more energy. I see that right now you're showing a video of one of our crocodile ambassadors, Gilly. Gilly actually came from the Fosters, Richard and Carol Foster, the couple that assisted Sharon Matola and the foundation or the establishment of the zoo. Of the Belize Zoo. Right. So Gilly, he is target trained. We target train our captive animals to ensure their mental and physical health, as these are highly intelligent animals. So right now, Pierre is in an enclosure next to Gilly, and we are right now monitoring him, but his health, his energy is starting to improve. And so we'll just go ahead and assess him. And if he gets his energy back, if he increases his weight, this is an animal that can be released back into the wild. My only concern, though, is seeing and observing his eyes. It's possible the attack that he had with the larger crocodile has blinded him. So if that happens, we will be requesting for Forest Department for the permission to have Pierre as a crocodile ambassador at the CRC, which just means he'll be one of our captive animals, and we can utilize his story to teach people about crocodiles and how to coexist with these animals.
All right.
Definitely. I'm hoping that he makes a speedy recovery, and I know, he's in very good hands right now. I think it's super important that people understand, like you mentioned, how to interact with crocodiles, meaning move away from them because they're in their territory. They don't want to attack you or anything. And what I think is super important right now, because we're going to be seeing more of them, is do not feed them. Do not leave food around for them or so, because like you mentioned, you're thinking that you're doing something fun. Oh, we're going to be having a moment. I'm going to take a picture, a selfie, or a video with these crocodiles feeding him. And that does not actually help the situation, because you can be able to cross that line, and then they can then more attack you for that.
I do have a question here, Marissa, and I think it's just education for our general public. You both mentioned basically if you see a crocodile, stay away from them. Now, if you see a crocodile, we've had these stories here in Belize where you see them in the drains, walking along the streets and what's not. Could you please educate our public as to what they should do or who they should call in order for the safe capture of these animals?
Yes, if there is an issue with a crocodile, let's say it's stuck in a drain, or there is just a bit of concern that you might think that a crocodile has been habituated to humans because of direct or indirect feeding, please call Forest Department. Also, in Belize City, the Wildlife Conservation Society, they have been assisting us as well as Forest Department in responding to crocodile issues in Belize City. And I'm really happy to say that several months ago, there was a wildlife champion from Belize City. His name's Austin David. And he rescued a little crocodile, and he started to volunteer for us. And he is out there now helping and responding to a lot of different crocodile calls in Belize City as a volunteer of the CRC. But again, if there is any issue, please call Forest Department or please call WCS, since they are in Belize City. And if needed, the CRC team can come up from Placentia Lagoon, or our wildlife champion, who I would like to say the croc man of Belize City, Austin, he can go ahead and assist in responding to those calls.
I love it.
Right, great.
This might sound like a weird question, but in regards to when you see a crocodile and you have to leave them alone, how are you supposed to do that? In the sense of, do you run? Do you slowly, exit the premises? Like, what is that stance? Because I think that is actually a question people are like, okay, do I rush out? Is it gonna chase me afterwards? Do I stone? Like, these are the things that people naturally do.
Where Crawford people are gonna
exactly, and they're gonna try to gather, watch it, try to poke it. Like, when you move away, again, what is the stance that you're supposed to do? Is it supposed to be a slow process where you just like kind of creep away, or do you run away? Like, what is the stance when it comes to trying to leave a crocodile? And again, repeat to all viewers out there, if you see a crocodile, you leave them alone. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. If you see a crocodile, just leave it alone. Again, right now you might see more on land as they bask or try to warm themselves up from the sun. They're kind of, when you see them doing that, they're sleeping. So in a sense, they're just kind of taking that nice, sunbathing nap. And so just go ahead and just leave them alone. There's no need to run. They're not going to chase you. You can just go ahead and walk away. The one thing you do not want to do not throw stones at it. Do not poke at it. Imagine you're at the beach and you're just lying, taking in some sun, just taking a nice rest, and someone starts throwing stones at you. Someone starts poking you with a stick or hitting you with a stick. Are you just going to lay there and not do anything? No, you're going to get up and you're going to defend yourself. So that's exactly what a crocodile would do as well. And so again, if you see a crocodile, just walk the other way. If there is a concern, call forest department, or you can even call your local police station. And I do know the CRC, a couple months ago, we did have a small workshop for some of the police stations in the city. So some of them are aware how to handle a crocodile situation. So again, you can call forest department if there is a concern, or call the local police station. But most what's going to happen is if that crocodile also starts hearing a lot of noise, it might just find the closest body of water, whether that's a creek or a canal, and then just swim away and try to find another place where they can bask in quiet.
All right. Thank you for this conversation. It's quite enlightening as to the breeding season and exactly what the public should do when seeing a crocodile in our domain, no? We're actually in theirs, but yeah.
Yeah, technically we infringed on their territory. You didn't mention the start and end date. I know it's been changing, like you said, because of climate change. So when is the start and end date of the breeding season specifically?
So what we are thinking now is the start of breeding season starts now in December, and then it goes to about April and May. So this year, my team and I, my headphones just fell out. 1 second.
No worries.
So we're going to be focusing on nest ecology to really understand the breeding season and nesting season of the American Immortals crocodile. So again, we're looking at December to maybe about April, and then the females are now nesting April to June. And what we have seen is some American crocodile hatchlings hatching at the end of May, early June, which historically has not been in publications before.
Okay.
And then we're also seeing the Morlets crocodiles even hatchlings in August. So you're looking between, breeding, the nesting and the hatching between December through August. And so breeding is where, again, we really see the dispersal of crocodiles. So if you start seeing a lot of crocodiles between, I would say mainly January through end of March, it's not necessarily like, oh my gosh, the city's becoming overpopulated by crocodiles. It's just the breeding season. They're dispersing, they're moving around, they're trying to find the males are trying to find that nice lady to make some babies with. So that's pretty much what you're seeing. And the CRC, several years ago, we started to log all the different crocodile calls that we would get. And one thing we noticed over the years is March is the time of the year we get a lot of crocodile calls, mainly from Belize City. But again, it's because you're just seeing the crocodiles as they are dispersing, again, trying to find mates or trying to find good nesting habitat.
All right.
Thank you so much for that information. So guys, if you see something, walk away, walk the next direction. Do not poke, do not feed, do not stone the crocodiles. Also make calls to the forest department in the case that you see a crocodile that's stuck somewhere in trouble so that they can be able to help them. You can also in Belize City possibly call the police department too as well. So they have training as well of how to deal with the situation. But make sure you make the call, and remember, they're breeding, they're trying to continue their life. So just leave them alone to do their thing. If you see them, really drink your water and mind your own business. Go in the next direction. I just want to thank you so much, Dr. Marissa, for being here and giving us all this amazing information. I think it really highlights, the importance of how we're supposed to react with these animals. Do not fear them. We need to be able to work and live in harmony with them in society because they're here to stay just like we are.
They've been here from the dinosaurs to now, so
yeah,
they're doing something
they've been having us on their back and everything like that. So we thank you so much for your time. And so with that, we go to our next commercial break.